Hello and welcome to another Moody Talk for December. This is our third Moody Talk and we are focusing on the emotion of guilt. And I chose this specific emotion for December because I think a lot of people who feel guilty about something that's happened in their past, maybe they've had a fallout with a friend or a loved one, or even there are many times where people who are depressed feel very guilty during the holidays because they just can't seem to stay in that mood, the festive mood, or they're lagging, so they feel as though they're not giving their family and loved ones a lot of energy. And so that can cause a lot of guilt with people who are depressed, especially during the season. So that is why I chose guilt. In the first two Moody Talks, I first discussed, like the words that you use to describe your guilt and the intensity you feel with those words, along with like body sensations. How does your body feel when you're feeling guilt? So it can give you an idea of, oh, this is the emotion that I'm feeling. In the second Moody Talk, I discussed different types of guilt that human beings can have, whether they're justified or unjustified, and we discussed that as well. What is justified guilt and what is unjustified guilt? So if you have a chance to go back and watch those two first videos, that would be really great. I think that would help with what we're doing here today, because we're going to be focusing on a coping skill, which is in a DBT skill, and it's called chain analysis. And it's a really great coping skill that I've used when you have like a problematic behavior or problematic thought that you just can't seem to get a hold of. A chain analysis is really great, and I'm going to show you how to do it. And this is just like the overall of chain analysis. There's other parts of it that you can also look up, and I can leave a link on. They also have a part of this which is a missing link analysis, where you're not sure what link goes to the next link. They're not linking up correctly. So that's another part of it. But I'm just going to do an overall today so that you can get an understanding. Okay, so here we go. Chain analysis. Use this coping skill to figure out the cause of a behavior, including an emotion, and plan to solve the problem. Okay? The types of behaviors or actions, like you got into a fight with someone, and you're in the process of not speaking with them, maybe. Body sensations, where your body's feeling a certain way and you don't understand why. That helps a lot when you're not sure of which emotion you're really feeling. So a chain analysis works really well if you're having these body sensations, but you're not quite sure which emotion is attached to them. Then there are the cognitive thoughts, the thoughts that you have over and over that are problematic, that you don't, you need to figure out why you're having those thoughts and what you can do to rectify them. And then there are events that happen, like that getting into a fight with a friend or a family member, and feelings. So this is what we're focusing on with guilt, feelings. Okay? So this is what a chain analysis looks like. Okay? So all these ones that are, empty, those are links to what's been going on. Okay? But you start out with the problem behavior. Okay, and that you need to go as far into it as you possibly can in painstaking detail. And then the prompting event of what happened to have this problem behavior happen. Okay, so this prompting event. And then there's a whole part here of vulnerability. Like, what's the vulnerability that was going on during this chain of events? Okay, so let's go through it a little deeper. So first, you're going to describe the problem. For an emotion, describe your thoughts and feelings. Okay, so you want to really get in there and figure out exactly what that problem is. Right now, we're looking at that the problem is feeling really guilty about something, that maybe it's something that's happened or something that hasn't, that kind of thing. Describe the intensity and don't leave a single detail out. So that's what I'm saying on the top here. go through this problem with a fine-tooth comb and write down everything you can think of that goes along with the problem. Describe the prompting event, such as getting into an argument, and what led up to it is really important. What was going on with your emotions in life right before this prompting event? Okay. Describe the vulnerability you may have had before or during the event. Were you feeling ill? Were you feeling stressed out by other events? Were you feeling other intense emotions at the time? So that's really important. You need to figure out what that vulnerability was before the event actually happened. So let's say it's right before Christmas and you're still trying to get all of the presents wrapped, or all the, to buy different presents, or you forgot a present and you need someone to help you with it. And then you get into an argument with a loved one, maybe because they're asking for other things to happen. They want to know about, what about Christmas dinner? What are we doing? And you're stuck in this moment of, I need to get all of these presents done and wrapped, right? So there's a vulnerability where you're feeling stressed about doing something before anything else can be taken care of. Also, if throughout the day you've been having, like sad feelings or different feelings that are just not helping with the situation, that's another vulnerability. And again, when I talk about depression, that's a really big issue when it comes to people who are depressed, that it's been building and building and you're not able to get out of that feeling. So that vulnerability could very well be full-blown depression. So you have to look at that and see what exactly is causing more and more stress that came up to this like prompting event. Okay. Describe the event in painstaking detail. Bullet point each part. So if you're doing a chain, you could actually do like a circle and then write in each thing that happened. So let's say, you started in the morning and you went out and you bought all the stuff for the stockings, but it was a really, really huge line because, of course, right before Christmas, there's a really, really big line. And so you're rushing home to hide those because the kids are home now. They got out of school, that kind of thing. And then when you got home, you realized that you didn't have the food that you needed for the night before Christmas or something like that. And you're like, well, now I have to go out and get that. So you go ahead and do that, and you come home and you're so busy and you're trying to hide things from the kids. You yourself are feeling really tired because as you're going throughout this past couple of weeks, you haven't slowed down. So you're stressed, you're extremely tired, and you may be a little just upset, just, sad, or, feeling as though you're not doing exactly what you need to do, right? So you really need to go through every moment of the day that led up to maybe you had a fight with your partner, sometime in between that, because you're really just very stressed out and in need of some time, away from people, something like that, something that you need. You can put that also in there, saying, okay, I felt I was needing this, but I wasn't getting it. Okay? Painstaking detail all the way up to the very moment that event happened. Okay? Now, let's keep going. So, describe the consequences. Be very specific about how you reacted to the other person or people at the time and later. How did the others react at the time and later? What effect did the event have on you and your environment after? So when they say environment, it's like the whole house feels so, angry because this has just stressed everyone out. You've just had a fight, and it hasn't helped anything. You were so on edge that you had no concept of stepping back and being able to sort things out with the person that you're having the argument with. The the consequences can be just about anything, even if it's your significant other or somebody is telling you how mad they are at you, that they don't want to talk to you anymore. And everybody with teenagers, you definitely understand this part, right? They don't want to talk to you. They just want to step away. They want to go to their room and be left alone. So these are the consequences of what just happened with that problem event. Okay? Create a list of skillful behaviors for each detail. Choose links that were the key moments in the event. Okay, so you're going to go back to your bullet points or your chain links if you're doing it that way, and you're going to think of, well, how can I cope better with each moment that happened in this analysis, right? In this chain. You go next to it and you put another skill that you could put into it. Let's say when you just realized you didn't buy all of the food that you needed to make Christmas Eve dinner or whatever it was, maybe instead of running out to go do that, maybe taking a moment to step back to do some breathing exercises. Like I love to do box breathing. Or maybe you just need to sit down for a half hour, watch a cheesy show, and just chill out before you step out again. Because before, when you went out for all those stocking stuffers, it was crazy out there and it really, really stressed you out. So when you realized you needed to go to get the food, maybe instead of running right out there with all that stress already in your body, maybe taking a step back and doing a coping skill such as, emotional regulation, where, like I said, you can sit back and you know that if you sit down and watch TV for a half hour and do some breathing, that maybe you'll feel better and it'll be easier to go back out there into that crazy Christmas Eve world. Okay? And then ask yourself, what could I have done differently? Okay, so that kind of goes in with the create the list of skillful behaviors, but it's actually going back to that chain and saying, instead of doing this to, get upset with my husband that I allowed that to happen, what could I have done differently? Well, maybe, reaching out and saying, look, I'm really trying to figure out what I'm doing here. I don't have time to discuss this with you. I would like you to help me in this way. And asking for help rather than getting more upset, thinking that everything has to be done by you. And I do that all the time. I always think that, it's just another thing that I have to do. Instead of stepping back, asking what I could have done differently and said, hey, I need help. Okay? Then the final part is go into repair mode, whether it be to help you with your emotional response or to make amends to the others involved if you find your guilt is justified. So you could very well find out that that you went way overboard with the argument and you need to make amends. So I'd like to talk a little bit about amends because I think a lot of people think that amends have to be done right away or never done at all. And I truly don't believe that in any way. I think amends for like a short-term issue may be easier to, go through, talk with whoever that you were working with to make amends on that justified guilt. But I think there's also chances, I think a lot of people who may have had an argument a long time ago with a loved one and haven't spoken to them in years, I still think there's a way to be able to make amends with that person when you've realized what's happened and that you want to talk about it with this person if they will talk to you and try to repair the relationship. Also, I think that there are other ways if this guilt has gone on for so very long, like decades maybe, and maybe that person isn't around anymore. Maybe it was a loved one that left home and you didn't talk to them for a long time and unfortunately something happened to them. I think making amends can also help you in your headspace by doing something for that person. let's say maybe I'm going to give a situation. So let's say that parents found out that their child was gay, and they did not want them to stay and asked them to leave. And maybe after that child's left or that loved one's left, they get into trouble, or something happens. I think it's really important for people to remember that you can honor them and do what you need to do to rectify that in your own mind. Maybe if it was a loved one who was gay, maybe giving to a LGBTQ plus, Moms Demand, these different things that you can give to, or, during the 80s, there was the AIDS epidemic, and giving to, an AIDS organization to help with that feeling of making amends. I think that making those choices and doing something, even though you can't be with or talk with the person that you love, doing something like that can help with you to make the amends in your heart and your mind, emotionally, and giving your time and energy to certain organizations maybe that were close to their hearts. Maybe that's a way that you can make amends without the person who you want to make amends with. So that is my whole talk on chain analysis. I hope that that was a helpful way to give you guys another tool to figure out what emotion am I feeling and what led up to that. Is my guilt justified? If it is, how do I make amends? And if it isn't, how do I help myself to make amends to myself and to talk my way through getting over that guilt? Okay, so I will have another Moody Talk at the end of the week, and I look forward to seeing you guys again. Have a great day. Bye.